Well, hello there again. It's Al here from MBX. Welcome, Mind Body Extra. Finally, I've got you to talk about the B.L.I.P of Health, one of my favourite programs. Here's the book of B.L.I.P of Health. For those of you who are members, you can get this easily by just going into the library of all the programs, but it's quite a substantial book. And today I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief rundown on the B.L.I.P of Health. B.L.I.P stands for Baseline Internal Program. So Baseline Internal Program, when you look at the name, takes you to the baseline of something. And it's the baseline of the mind. The baseline of the mind is a highly concentrative part of the mind. Whereas when we get to the outer reaches of the mind, we call that contemplation. There's not as much power there. I've said this to some of you before. Hello, Olivia. Nice to see you again. Just remembering too, I can't take any questions during this format, but you're most welcome to give me questions after. So the baseline internal program of health. So let's understand really the baseline. The baseline of the mind is concentration. Concentration becomes so intense that you can slip into almost what you're concentrating on and become it. In sport, we call that the flow state. So we're going to get into the flow state of health. So what inhibits the flow state of health? This, by the way, is never replacing the medical professionals, the experts. This is enhancing what they do. It's making you more relaxed to what they might do. So therefore, it's working hand in hand with the medical professionals. So don't any of you think that what I'm about to say replaces anything which is mainstream medicine, because it certainly doesn't. It'll help those people do their job with you. So the baseline, we've already discussed that. So what is it that inhibits health? Number one, we have a very busy mind, and if we have a very busy mind, it uses at rest the mind, brain, uses 30% of your total daily energy. If it's a very, very busy mind, it can use up to 50, 75% of your total daily energy. Now just absorb this. That means that most of it's going to run a busy mind. Most of your energy is going to run a busy mind. But there's hardly any energy going to the important systems of your body which keep us alive. Important systems such as the lymphatic and immune system, if we're robbing ourselves of energy, we can't immune, we won't drain off, we will get a dis-ease. Eventually, over years, that becomes a disease. So we need to be in harmony with all of this mind-body. And to be in harmony, we need to understand when we're using too much of its energy, because we need the energy to go into our systems. So if we aren't in harmony, it affects our breathing. Now, all of the great traditions of the world, they all talk about breathing. And no wonder, because without breathing, guess what? We're going to die. We're going to die one day, but let's not make it any time soon. So let's be very aware that the breathing is a mechanism that sends oxygen into the cells via the bloodstream and energizes every cell of your body. If you haven't got enough oxygen on the in-breath, you will then underutilize the energy going into the bloodstream and therefore being distributed out to the musculoskeletal system. And let's just jump a few other systems, but they're all equally important. Let's jump now into the immune lymphatic system. Once the immune lymphatic system is affected, you are going to get something which is not going to be running properly. The immune and lymphatic system is your fountain of youth. I want you to live a long time, a long and happy lifetime. So our immune and lymphatic system must be functioning as best we can make it. That means that we must be very, very aware of our breathing patterns. We mustn't have shallow breaths, which happens when we're stressed. We must have even inhalation, exhalation. We must have an even gap between the in-breath and the out-breath, and the out-breath and the in-breath. Not too fast, not too slow. Those little gaps that you know between the in and out and the out and in breath, they're equally as important, because that's where the cycle gets a harmonic flow. If we haven't got enough breath, I said earlier, you shall die. If we haven't got enough breath and we don't die, we create a condition which underlies every disease known to man. That's a very big statement. And the disease is really a dis-ease called hypoxia. Hypoxia. Hypoxia means that we now have a chronic shortage of oxygen at the cellular level. Now, if this continues on for any length of time, we now lack oxygen at the cellular level, so we create an acidic environment. An acidic environment enables the big diseases that we all dread and we hear of all the time, such as cancer, autoimmune diseases, and other diseases. It allows them to proliferate. It allows them to grow. Whereas if we change the internal environment to an alkaline environment, in other words, not a hypoxic environment, and by the way, we're all a bit hypoxic, to not a hypoxic environment, we are less likely over time to develop these terrible diseases. Because we don't create a hypoxic, environment, the lymph and immune system runs powerfully and smoothly, and as it should, in harmony. So hypoxia, remember that word. Hypoxia happens off a stress reaction. The stress reaction can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be climatic, it can be physical, it can be a whole lot of combinations that cause a stressor and enable the hypoxia to start to take hold. That hypoxia can become habitual. Now, there is a thing going around which I've spoken about this week. It's a wonderful thing. It's called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the ability of our brains to create brand new neural pathways. We all have 7 billion neurons available to create into neuronal pathways. But because we use habitual pathways, we don't get anywhere near actualizing all those neurons. It's been guesstimated, and that's a word, guesstimated, that even the greatest minds in history, such as Einstein, Socrates, and others, at best have used 10%. So we have 90% of our neuronal capacity lying fallow, waiting for you to create new neuronal pathways, with our ability to create new and positive habits. Today, hopefully, we're creating a positive habit. The number one positive habit from today is do not, I'll say this again, do not become hypoxic. Make sure, and here comes the word, everyone. You heard me say this 1,000 times. I make no apologies. Make sure that you're aware of your breathing ratios. Make sure that you're aware that you're taking a long, nice in-breath. Make sure that you expel the carbon dioxide. If we don't expel carbon dioxide through a stress reaction, we will create hypoxia. We will create a dis-ease. Over time, guaranteed, you'll create a disease. I do not want you to get diseases before it's time to leave this world. I want you to live your life a happy and in harmony with the most perfect health that you possibly can have. So today, the B.L.I.P of Health is talking about, amongst many other things, we haven't got time today to talk about all the other facets. Today, we need to be aware of hypoxia. We need to be aware of extending our in-breath and our out-breath, and even the intermissions between the in and out-breath. We need to develop this awareness. If we do this, we will create the conditions for perfect health. The B.L.I.P of health is all about getting the meditative mindset. Because in meditation, you're actually using the mind to get to know mind. No mind is not nothing. No mind is pregnant with everything that can possibly come out of that intuitive state into our realm here where we live three-dimensionally, the 3D world. So neuroplasticity is the ability to use new neuronal networks. Remember I said earlier you've got 7 billion neurons. How about today we start to become more aware of starting more positive things, more positive things to stop the hypoxia and to give us more oxygen at the cellular level. This can't be harmful. This can't be going against medical expertise. This can only help the dear doctors. And by the way, they're under the pump. We all know that. They give us things to do. We must be relaxed and settle into the things that they give us to do. And if we do this, we can enhance our opportunities to not only use their expertise, but your personal expertise to actually bring perfect health. Now, I want you to do this for me just slowly. We'll do this every week until we get this right. I'm sorry for harping at you, but that's my job. The 1, 2, 3 practice. 1, 2, 3. What comes next? First timers, not 4. I didn't say 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. What comes next? Not 4. What comes next is silence. And what comes next is therefore harmony, not disharmony. Get used to the harmony. You'll neuroplasticize that. Your mind will be starting to say, I need more of that. You'll have a habit forming. You'll build a new neuronal network, going back to this procedure. 1, 2, 3, silence. In the silence, we can't have hypoxia. It's only when we get into stress reactions with a busy mind, a very highly contemplative mind, when we can get into stress reactions that cause this hypoxia. Now, as I said earlier, there's many other facets that we need to do. We need to drink enough water. We need to have fresh air. We need to have enough movement. We need to have the diet and nutrition just right for us. We need to have enough exercise, and more importantly than that, we need to have enough rest. If we exercise too much, we will create an acidic environment. Just what we don't want. If we over-exercise, we haven't got time for the body to rest and readapt and compensate to the exercise stimulus. The benefits of exercise do not come during the exercise. The benefit of exercise comes after the exercise has been completed, where you give the body rest and time to compensate to the stimulus of exercise. So that's critical. We need enough sunlight. We need enough work. We need enough socialising, but all in balance. But guess what? To have balance, to be present, is the only way you can have balance. The only way you can be present is to be aware. My message weekly in the differing subjects that we go over is develop the awareness to be present in now. If we're totally in now, we cannot possibly be hypoxic. Hypoxia is a formula for dis-ease. Awareness, developing awareness, is the only way out, because we're aware that we're breathing shallow. We're aware that we're even breathing too quickly. We're aware that we're not breathing deeply enough. We're aware that we haven't had enough fresh air. We're aware that we haven't had enough water. We're aware that we're yearning to have social contact. We're aware that we need to exercise more. All of these things need to come under the umbrella of awareness. We need to develop our awareness. We do not need any further instruction or an instruction manual on how to think. We already know how to think. But are you aware of what you're thinking? Because if you're not aware of what you're thinking, you'll go into habitual thinking, which will cause hypoxia. We need to develop our awareness. Together. 1, 2, 3. Silence. No hypoxia there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hardly any breath. Shoulders go up. I'm affecting straight away my musculoskeletal system. Straight away I'll get a tight jaw. Straight away I'll get sore shoulders. Straight away you'll have to book an appointment with me to get some therapy done. Do you really need to do that? No, of course you don't. Become aware. That's my message to you every week. And I'll read out what's on next week in a moment. But every week, reminding you to be aware. Please keep in touch with me. Please join up with us. It's very, very, very inexpensive to join up with us. And I can keep even more in touch with you. It'll cost you the same as a coffee and a cookie per month. And all of these programs that you can see behind me, and many, many more, you can have all for the price of coffee and cookie per month. One of those programs that you can see, generally we charge $135 Australian. Become a member with us and you get all those and more. Plus there's so many other benefits just by becoming a member. I urge you to become members with us so that I can keep in touch with you one-on-one. We can have a lot of things to do together. This one today I've been waiting for, the B.L.I.P of Health. You can see it up there. I've got it there on the board behind me, on the poster behind me. This one is very, very dear to me. I want you to live a very full, productive and happy life in harmony, health and harmony. This is what we're looking for. So before we go, I've just about run out of time. Thanks again for listening to me. I'm going over the same ground but applying it into different areas. Let me just get you to remember what's coming up. Next week, on Wednesday the 18th, we'll be talking about the competitive world and how can we compete and win even when we lose. In the competitive world, you know, people lose when they're hypoxic, which is leading on from today's discussion. On Wednesday the 25th of May, the corporate world, the leader and his team with teamwork. Then on Wednesday, the 1st of June, we hear of the sweet spot, which is very common in sports, golf, tennis, and so forth. What actually is the sweet spot? Just what is it, and why do we need to know this? How can it help us not be hypoxic? Wednesday, the 8th of June, timing. It's brief talk on time. This is a fascinating subject, time, so come to that workshop or that discussion and we can talk about it. Here's one that might interest a lot of you. I've been fascinated with this for a long time. On Wednesday, the 15th of June, the B.L.I.P of weight reduction. A truly remarkable program of how to use mind power to drop those kilos. Also, just reminding you, on the 28th of May, I'm doing B.L.I.P 1 and B.L.I.P 2. It's a 9 to 12 a.m. workshop. All you need to do is to go onto our website and you'll see all the details. The 30th of June, the B.L.I.P of Health, which is the one we spoke about today, we'll go over all of this between 9 and 12 noon on that particular day, the 30th of June. On the 23rd of July, we're getting into applied performance, the B.L.I.P of tennis. How can we not just leave our practice form on the practice court? How can we take that onto the competitive field? All these things and more. Join us. Go to www.mindbodyxtra.com.au. The extra has no E, so just dial in there and see if you want to join us. We'd love to have you. It's terribly inexpensive and we can get all these things done together. I can be on your team then. I'm doing it once a week with you, but I'm not able to spend too much time doing it this way. So if you do it like that, it's very inexpensive. It's not even the cost of one program that you see behind you per year. Thanks for joining me. If you need any further help on the B.L.I.P of Health of what I've spoken about today, mainly awareness of hypoxia, please get back to me. You'd be very, very welcome. Bye for now. See you next week.